Howdy.
Howdy.
My name is Caleb Ross, and I will be giving a thesis on why AI should not replace pilots in commercial aviation. A symphony of controls in the palm of AI. Will AI pilot the future of aviation? In the early 20th century, flight seemed impossible until the Wright brothers flew their first aircraft through the skies. Fast forward to the 21st century, and the skies have become a direct testament to the Wright brothers' first flight. Automation in aviation has not only transformed the travel industry, but it has also redefined the relationship between humans and machines. Imagine stepping into a modern aircraft cockpit full of screens and controls, each element designed to assist the pilot along their journey. As the throttle levers are pushed forward and the aircraft accelerates down the runway, automation ensures that every system is working together in unity with one another. From computer programs that load into the navigational aid to autopilot systems that maintain altitude and heading, automation has truly become the co-pilot of the 21st century. The journey towards this level of automation began in the early 1920s by a man named Lawrence Sperry. Originally, what was a simple mechanical device has evolved into complex systems capable of managing an entire flight. Today's automation can handle taxiing, takeoff, and landing with incredible precision. As we look to the future, AI can transform the travel industry. According to Christian Scher, chief advisor for Airbus, he states that the technology for safely operating a fully autonomous aircraft now exists. However, its interaction with regulators and interpretation from the traveling public will be a key component. AI integration raises many questions about the role of human pilots and the need for cybersecurity measures. As we look to the future, finding the right balance between human expertise and machine efficiency will be crucial. Automation in aviation can be defined as the use of technology to reduce the need of human intervention during the flight process. Major companies like Boeing and Airbus both have many ideas of ways AI can be used, whether it is autonomous taxi, takeoff, and landing. Clearly, automation is being used in aviation, but the question remains, should AI replace pilots in aviation? This thesis will demonstrate that major airline companies should not use AI to replace pilots in aviation for three important reasons. First, the public rejection of AI, especially in aviation. AI is a direct threat to work and what it means for humans. And lastly, the potential threat of cyber terrorism. To evaluate AI replacing pilots in aviation, a basic understanding between the relationship humans have with each other and the relationship humans have with AI is needed. Since the beginning of time, God created humans with a need for relationship. God himself exists in eternal relationship, Father, Son, and Spirit. God said in the garden that it is not good for man to be alone. God created humans with a need for relationship with others in mind. And since we are created in his image, we are all created to relate to one another. There are similarities and differences between humans, but they are all rooted in a common beginning. Whether someone is agnostic or holds a biblical belief, creation is an inherent part of humanity. Relationship is an inherent part of humanity tied through creation. For instance, when a child is born, it relies on its mother and father for life. But as that baby gets older, the role of the parents change from life giver to life supporter, helping them navigate life's many ups and downs. This relationship, parent and child, creator and creation, is common throughout all humanity. All humans have a common beginning, creating a commonality among us. To summarize, humans share commonality simply because we are human, because of our common beginning, and because God's character is inherent in all of us, allowing us to relate to one another. AI can be described in one word: tool. But when asked to describe its personality or character, we might find that task more daunting. Can we even describe or assign personality or character traits to something that doesn't have a spirit or physical form? Can humans truly know AI? And can they honestly trust it? In a study conducted by Pew Research, they found that 52% of Americans reported being more concerned than excited about AI in daily life, compared to the 10% who said that they were more excited than concerned. Additionally, 38% felt a mixture of both feelings, excited and concerned. When boarding a plane, passengers have a sense of trust in the pilot, similar to the trust a passenger might have in a taxi driver, though the circumstances and the potential for error are much lower in the taxi. Imagine stepping into a modern aircraft with no pilot. How would you feel? Well, Ipsos, a French research and marketing company, asked that same question. They surveyed 1,000 people and found that only 15% said that they would feel comfortable as a pilot or as a passenger on a fully automated aircraft. They then asked that same question, but what if their airfare was reduced? Surprisingly, the same results. If their airfare was 10%, 20%, or even 30% cheaper, passengers still preferred to be passengers on a human-piloted aircraft. Ultimately, the public is scared and uncomfortable when it comes to AI replacing pilots in aviation. If AI does replace pilots in aviation, it could be devastating. Some companies estimate that they will save $60 billion a year when they replace pilots, remove their training costs, and cut their salaries. But is saving $60 billion a year accurate when their main source of income is public transportation? Public trust and comfort are significant barriers when it comes to something as high stakes as flying. While the technology behind AI is advancing rapidly and could theoretically enhance safety and operate more efficiently, there's an emotional and psychological factor that cannot be overlooked. Flying is already an activity that puts people out of their comfort zones. In fact, air phobia affects more than 40 million Americans today. And if we eliminate pilots whom passengers trust to handle emergencies, make real-time decisions, and offer reassurance, it could cause even more fear. If passengers feel uncomfortable or unsafe, they could avoid flying altogether, negatively impacting the flying industry. 1 Corinthians 13:11 states, "When I was a child, I thought like a child. I spoke like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways." Children often dream about what they want to be at a young age. Some will say they want to be a police officer, or give a really cute answer, such as wanting to become a mom or a dad. Children often dream about this, but as they get older, the question becomes more real, more serious, and even more stressful. Why? Because work is a part of God's plan for humanity. In the garden, before the fall, God instructed Adam and Eve to tend and take care of the fields. Now, the key phrase is before the fall. Before sin entered the world, God commanded Adam and Eve to work. If in God's perfect world and perfect plan, work is a calling, then it must be beneficial. In work, the meaning of your life, it states that work is an act of worship to God, that it is not just something normal and boring. When completed, work offers a range of benefits that can profoundly impact one's life and soul. Meaningful work allows the worker to feel like they are contributing to something greater than themselves. Work doesn't just have emotional factors and benefits. It also helps develop important characteristics and values that are vital to life. Ultimately, If AI does replace pilots in aviation, it'll be a direct threat to work and what it means to humans. Because if AI can't pilot a plane, what else can AI do? A part of meaningful work is safety, and AI has the potential to increase safety by eliminating human element in the cockpit. However, it also opens the door to unprecedented risks such as cyber terrorism. As airplanes become increasingly more and more reliant on AI, they become increasingly more and more attractive targets to malicious hackers. Such an attack could have drastic consequences, resulting in thousands of deaths and widespread public panic. Over Christmas break, I had the opportunity to drive a fully automated vehicle. It used cameras on the mirrors to accurately gauge its position on the road. As the car was driving, it suddenly jerked off the road, causing immediate panic. If it wasn't for a focused and attentive driver, crashing would have occurred, injuring myself, the others in the car, and potentially other drivers on the road. Now think of that same example, but without a driver. A crash would have occurred, injuring those in the car and potentially others on the road. That example applies to aviation as well, because there have been examples or instances where automation has failed and the pilots have saved the day. Now think of this. Why would we want to get rid of pilots on an even more sophisticated system such as AI? AI integration raises many questions about the potential threat of cyber terrorism. On September 11, 2001, the worst act of aviation terrorism occurred. 4 planes were hijacked. 2 of them crashed into the World Trade Center, 1 into the field, and the last one into the Pentagon. This claimed 2,606 lives. Originally, 10 planes were supposed to be hijacked, but 6 of them were stopped due to human intervention. Now think of that example, but with a successful cyber attack. All 10 of those planes would have been hijacked, resulting in even more deaths and more public panic. Such an attack could be executed remotely, making it challenging for law enforcement to find and prosecute these malicious hackers. In 2006, the first aircraft was created that had access to Wi-Fi. And in 2019, a company called Black Hat was able to hack into a docked Boeing 787. If in 2019, a company was able to hack into a plane, think about what a company or even someone else who has bad intent will be able to do with the technology available in the next 20 years. Since AI can be used for terrorism, it should be used as a tool under the supervision and authorization of the commanding pilots. Who is going to pilot the plane when AI fails? Who is going to save the passengers from death? Who is going to be there to offer reassurance? U.S. Airways Flight 1549 was piloted by Captain Solenberger. Shortly after he left LaGuardia Airport, he struck a flock of geese, causing both of his engines to fail. If it wasn't for his leadership, quick thinking, and exceptional pilot skills, all 155 souls on board would have died. But it was because of his leadership, quick thinking, and exceptional pilot skills, he was able to successfully land that plane on the Hudson River. Now think of that same example, but with AI in the cockpit. Could AI have landed on the river? Could AI have even thought of landing the plane on the river? No. AI lacks the ability to think outside the box. AI lacks the ability to think on its feet. If AI had been in command, all 155 souls on board would have died. The most one argument to why AI should replace pilots in aviation is that the feelings that the passengers have, such as the anxiety, not feeling comfortable, and not feeling safe, will be solved by aviation companies coming alongside them by creating new boundaries and new fields to combat those feelings. However, that might be true. The trust that passengers have in pilots is not about routine tasks. It's about confidence in knowing that pilots are going to make the right decision. That trust has been forged in fire through many years of trial and error. AI cannot match the emotional intelligence and human judgment that humans have. No matter how sophisticated AI gets, it can't. The most prevalent argument why AI should replace pilots in aviation is the fact that it will increase safety. There are 4 key components that aviation companies pride themselves in. The first is integrity, reliability, customer service, and the most important one, safety. Did you know that 80% of all crashes are caused by human error from takeoff to land? AI cannot feel stress. AI cannot get anxiety. AI does not feel human emotions that human pilots have. That is why AI theoretically can increase safety. However, while that might be true, if research is done, a different painting can be painted. Out of the 4 key values, one is not listed, but it can certainly be alluded to: profit. Major airline companies will try and jeopardize the safety of the passengers and the pilots on board to try and maximize profit. This is also known as corporate negligence. A perfect example of this is actually a recent crash that occurred, and I believe it was in Canada. They paired 2 inexperienced pilots in bad weather conditions, which resulted in a crash. Now, was that caused by human error, or was it the circumstances which caused the human error in that crash? This thesis has demonstrated that AI should not replace pilots for 3 important reasons. First, the public has a negative rejection of AI. Secondly, AI is a direct threat to work and what it means for humans. And lastly, the potential threat of cyber terrorism increases when AI is in the cockpit. When evaluating AI, we must remember the fundamental relationship that humans have with each other. Since the beginning of time, God created humans with a need for relationship, a need to connect, a need to rely, and a need to trust one another. Pilots are no different. Pilots aren't just managers of complex systems, but rather they are trusted individuals responsible for the physical and psychological well-being of their passengers. The pilot's role goes beyond technical knowledge. It is about emotional intelligence and human judgment in making the right decision in the midst of stressful situations, all which form the foundation of public trust. When evaluating AI, we must recognize its limitations to what it can and can't do. While AI can increase safety and operate more efficiently, it should never remove the human element entirely, but rather it should be used as a tool in the form of automation under the commanding pilots. Human pilots play a critical role in the cockpit, and they should never be removed from aviation. Thank you.